Hello everybody, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening depending on where you are in this amazing world. My name is Donovan Jolly, and welcome everybody once again for another amazing video of DIY investing. For today's video, we're going to be talking about one of the biggest bits of news that we've ever had inside of this crypto bull run. This is a bit of news that's come out over the recent couple days talking about the approval of a Bitcoin ETF, which is an exchange traded fund. Many people have been talking about this, speculating on when and if a Bitcoin ETF would get approved, all the way back from 2018 in the bear market. Every single attempt that we've ever had for an approval of an ETF gets denied by the SEC, but we have recently come out over the last couple days with news that the SEC is going to now approve this and allow it to be added on major exchanges. This is going to be a big advancement because it's something I talked about when it came to projecting when the cycle top would be. I always said that I expected a Bitcoin ETF to be, the end of the cycle, the point where we need to start selling. And so for today's video, we're going to be diving into the charts, analyzing what this means for the final end of the year blow off top. Are we going to end up topping early because of this ETF, or are we going to end up seeing this market explode even bigger than we even had expected before? If you're new and just finding this channel, always remember to do me a favor by leaving a like, comment, and subscribing to this channel for more updates. Always remember to click that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these amazing videos like the one provided for you here. And make sure you guys sign up and join the Discord server of over 21,000 members growing. Links are going to be provided for you in the description for the people that want to sign up and join my community. On top of that, if you're new, just getting into these markets and you want an extra educational study guide to help teach you guys how to be more profitable inside of these markets, links are also provided for you in the description. Go ahead and download my free ebook and Beginner's Guide to Crypto. So check it out. Links are provided for you in the description. And with all that being said, guys, let's jump right into this amazing video today. Alrighty guys, so the big thing that we wanted to talk about today and summarize this inside of the charts is actually going to be the Bitcoin ETF. Now for you guys that maybe do not know what an ETF is, I'll go ahead and link this article inside the description, but this is actually from Bloomberg, which is one of the major institutional investment pages that you guys are going to be able to find. And basically what it outlines is that Bitcoin has now had approval by the SEC to go ahead and launch this futures ETF. Now an ETF is simply an exchange traded fund. It's paper trading for Bitcoin, which in my opinion isn't very good because we like Bitcoin not to be paper traded, because inside of paper trading, that's how they've been able to manipulate the gold and silver markets for so long. And these ETFs are just a way for institutions to kind of manipulate markets. And so while I don't think that this is a great thing for Bitcoin, I do believe that it's going to create one more final big push inside of this cycle. And so what I've talked about for you guys is the potential that an ETF launching was going to be the cycle top. And I talked about this a lot. Now, the reason why I actually said that I think that it's going to be the cycle top is because the day that futures trading opened, the first time we ever had a futures market open for Bitcoin, was the exact day that Bitcoin topped from $20,000 and started its bear market back to $3,200. I've always foreseen that an ETF would be kind of that next big step where we would see this launch and then it would be the next end of the bull market, and institutions would kind of use that as a way to assert maximum leverage in shorts on the Bitcoin market and then cause the price to short and tank down in the process. And so this is something I've talked about, but the timing of which this is going to get launched isn't actually correlating necessarily with an exact cycle top. And unless we're launching this ETF, which it doesn't sound like it's going to be, unless we launch this ETF closer towards the end of the year, like I've stated, December to even the end of December timeframes, these are all timeframes that I've talked about that are really important, because if we end up launching towards that end of the year with this ETF, I would expect that this would correlate towards a cycle top, and this would be a buy the rumor, sell the news type event. But based off of what I've been reading here, it sounds like this is actually going to get launched a little bit earlier, and we're not going to see this quite along those same time frames. It's going to happen a little bit prematurely. And so a couple things can happen, guys, and this is why I'm going to bring you guys back to the gold chart, and we're going to kind of summarize what this has done to price charts in the history, different ETFs that got approved, and then kind of why I've always thought that this would be a cycle top for Bitcoin. This is a really important update. It's one of the biggest fundamental things that we've seen launch for Bitcoin since futures futures opened back at the beginning of 2018. And so this is going to be something that's very major that we need to pay attention for. Normally, I don't pay a lot of attention towards news and things like that, but this is one of those bits of news that correlates as a major fundamental upgrade inside of the Bitcoin ecosystem that we do need to pay attention for. So this is actually the chart of gold. What I wanted to share with you guys is actually when the ETF got approved for gold, and that happened over here in 2004. So 2004 takes place about right here. And this is where the gold ETF got approved. We've had our first exchange traded fund. Technically, there was one that launched in 2003, but that was in a different country. But the American ETF actually launched in 2004. And we saw the price of gold, go from approximately $400 all the way up here to about $1,900. And it made about a 4x move over the course of the next, 5 to 10 years. And so this was a point in the cycle where it was a little bit different than where we're at today. What we saw inside of gold was we had just went through years and years of consolidation, and then we finished off with this massive rounded bottom accumulation pattern. And this exact same time was actually when we went and invaded Iraq. We had the Iraq war and went into that war. And so this was a point where we saw a massive amount of accumulation taking place as there was uncertainty in the dollar. People flocked to gold and started accumulating heavy amounts of gold. And right when we broke out of that accumulation range is when we got the ETF approved. And so this was a time where we had already gone through the accumulation, and the ETF was actually a positive benefit towards the price of gold, where we saw a massive amount of price discovery take place inside of gold, and we rallied upwards of about 4x, right? And so this time around, here we are taking a look at Bitcoin, and things are a little bit different, right? We've already been going insane. We've already accumulated all the way back down in here at 3,200, and we've actually been uptrending for the last year and a half, 2 years, right? So the time scale, the price analysis is completely different. We're at a time where we're actually approaching the end of this cycle compared to as gold, when their ETF got approved, it was at the very end of its accumulation and the beginning of its bull cycle. And so I've kind of talked about why I've always thought that we would see the ETF launch for Bitcoin and that be a sell the news type of event where Bitcoin actually tops. And the reason I bring that up is because if we come over here and look at the Bitcoin futures, and this is actually something I've talked about on this channel, the exact day that Bitcoin futures opened and launched in 2018, or I should say the end of 2017, was the exact day that Bitcoin actually topped from its market cycle, right? So this was when Bitcoin was at about $20,000. And the day that futures trading opened was the exact day that Bitcoin started its bear market. It's not coincidence that the first time we ever have exchanges that are able to launch heavy amounts of shorts with futures trading, which if you guys aren't familiar with futures is just really high leverage. And it gives an on-ramp for institutional investors to finally get skin in the game, right? They have lots of money, they need lots of liquidity, so futures is a way for institutions to actually get into the market. And so Bitcoin had went from $160 all the way up to $20,000, and then we get this CME futures launch, right? And then that was the exact day that Bitcoin started crashing. The reason why is simply because we never really had a way for major big money, smart money institutional investors to short Bitcoin. We had exchanges and stuff like Bitfinex, like Kraken, Poloniex, some of these exchanges where you actually could short Bitcoin. But for the most part, there wasn't a ton of liquidity. There wasn't a ton of volume inside of those markets. And so it really wasn't enough to see major shorting power for the first time. And that's actually what we did see with the CME futures. We saw once that opened, all of these institutions piled into short Bitcoin at the same time, and the contract opened here and the contract actually closed down here. And so it's not coincidence that they shorted the exact top, and then the exact day that futures, their contract, that year-long contract ended, was the exact cycle bottom. It's not coincidence. It's because they knew what they were doing. They shorted the entire way down. As everybody that bought during the FOMO period panic sold, they were profiting off of their shorts, and that's basically how they accumulated all their Bitcoin, was they shorted the top, and then right after the contract closes and ends, the market shoots back up to 14K, and then they ended up accumulating all the way back down throughout this period of time as well. And so over the last, couple years, we've seen Bitcoin on a massive tear. And so now that we're actually getting close to this ETF, there's a couple big factors that we need to talk about here. Do I think that this ETF is going to be a sell the news type of event where Bitcoin ends up crashing? Well, it depends 100% upon when we actually get this release for the futures. and for that ETF. But the thing that I'm starting to see based off of hearing stuff on Twitter is simply the fact that this ETF is going to launch before the end of the year. And so most likely, if this launches, sometime this month or early in November, I mean, even late November for the most part, but I would say if it launches anywhere between this month and the 1st of November, I would say that this isn't going to be a sell the news type of event. I would personally think that this is going to go up a little bit higher, but it totally depends on what happens with the price. If we get this exchange traded fund that launches really soon, in my opinion, that's just going to add more fuel to the fire of what we're already seeing, because we know that we're going to see a blow off top. That's what's going to happen. We've only finished wave 1 and wave 3. We know that we have one more final push still to go before the end of the year. Every cycle's had one of these. And so the big question is, depending on the time frame of which this launches, we should expect to see, if it launches within this month to the 1st of November, I would personally expect to see this thing actually take off a lot harder. And it would bring a lot of new FOMO inside of the market, because a lot of crypto people have been waiting for an ETF. We've talked about this for years and years at this point. And so now that it's actually coming into fruition, I think a lot of people are going to get very bullish. They're going to get very optimistic. And not only that, but I mean, institutions that are going to be able to leverage this ETF, depending on when it launches, if the price of Bitcoin starting to just barely break out of its all-time high and we see this thing get approved, I would expect that we're going to see even some institutions FOMO buy into Bitcoin, and that's going to cause a big shoot on the upside. And I've always said, guys, 250K by the end of the year. A lot of people have doubted that, but now that we're actually seeing this ETF, depending on when that releases, I still think that this is very much going to be the target on the table. And so, honestly, guys, I think it really just hinges on when this thing gets released, but I do believe that this is going to ultimately create a big expansion on the upside, kind of the opposite of what I always said before, right? I always said that the ETF was going to launch, and that was going to create a sell the news type of event where the market was going to crash, just like what we saw over here at 20K when the futures opened. But this is a little bit different, right? Futures opened at the very top of a parabolic rally at the very end of that year, right? So it was following those 4-year cycles, and it happened after we had such a massive move on the upside. Well, if this gets approved now, we've not even broken the all-time highs quite yet. We're getting close to that point, but we haven't actually broken outside of those. And so the big thing to understand is the cycle is just different. The PA is different this time around. And so depending on when this does get approved, if it's a little bit earlier than the end of the year, I would expect that this market is going to shoot up, and that's where we ultimately will see this blow off top. The ETF, instead of creating the cycle top, could actually create the blow off top that takes us to the overall cycle top. And that's just based off of what I'm seeing in the charts. That's what it looks like to me. And so this is a really important time for crypto, guys. This is going to be a very profitable time, considering all of these big news events, specifically the ETF getting approved, is going to bring a ton of new optimism in the market. A lot of people are going to get over leveraged. A lot of people are going to get very excited in this time. And it's going to be a great opportunity for us holders that have been accumulating for a long time to get a lot of exit liquidity to sell into. It's not like we have to have that much exit liquidity. I mean, a lot of you guys aren't nearly as rich as some of these institutions are. I know I'm not even close to being as rich as these guys are. So it's really not going to take me much liquidity to get out of the market, along with the people watching this video. But nonetheless, it's going to pump our bag significantly, and we're going to make a lot of profit when it does come time to actually sell. So let's actually talk about, the crypto total market caps. We'll look at the total market cap, and then we'll look at the altcoin total market cap, and we'll kind of see, what's been going on over the last, couple days. So from my last video, what I talked to you guys about was really just this cup and handle formation. And I said that most likely we were going to be breaking out of this, and it was going to lead us into our final blow off top to close out the end of the year. We are so close to actually breaking outside of this. We are just, probably about a week away, if that. Most likely in the next few days, with all of this news coming out about the ETF, I expect that the prices are actually just going to keep going up. And so we should see a break of this very, very soon. I mean, really all we have over here is a wick, and we're already about to be breaking out of the wick of the handle. So in my opinion, we will see, resolution of this. We should see a move, upwards of 3 trillion in market cap. Whether we retest the breakout point or not, that's kind of, really doesn't matter. I would expect that this is ultimately going to be breaking out, and we will see a massive, massive move coming inside of the total market cap. This is just your classic example of a cup and handle. It's so funny to me how this ETF is coming in line right as we're breaking out of this cup and handle. The people that make these markets, they know what they're doing. This isn't coincidence. You know, the same way that they shorted the exact cycle top when the futures opened in 2018. You know, this is the kind of the same sort of thing that's going to be playing out again. They're launching this to create a ton of exit liquidity, in my opinion. But once again, it totally depends on when this actually releases. If the ETF releases, you know, the 1st of December and any point in December, I'm going to be looking to sell that. Once again, it depends on what the price is doing, but we could actually see the price just start skyrocketing in anticipation of this ETF. The ETF launches sometime in December, and then it really is a sell the news type of event. It's totally going to depend on when this releases, but from the chatter I'm seeing on Twitter, from different people sharing stuff, which really, let's go look at one of those things, because I was just reading this. This is from old Sunny Decree on Twitter. You guys can go ahead and follow him. But this is basically, you know, from NASDAQ themselves. What it says is, this is to certify that on October 15th, 2021, the NASDAQ stock market, the exchange, received from Valkyrie ETF Trust 2, the registrant, a copy of the registrant's application on Form 8A12B for the registration of the following securities. We further certify that the securities described above has been approved by the exchange for listing, registration upon official notice of issuance. We understand that the registrant is seeking immediate acceleration of the effective date registration, and we hereby join in such request. So there's not an exact date, but what we can say is it's been certified, it's been okayed by the NASDAQ, and the SEC is not actually going to block it. So we know that it's going to get approved. The real question now is, when does it get approved, right? When is this actually going to get approved? Because that's going to be the big thing. If this gets approved, you know, towards the end of our cycle timeframes in December, I think it's a sell the news event. If this gets approved and actually released within the next week or 2 weeks, I think that it's going to create a little bit more euphoria. But that's kind of the way I'm going to be playing the market. The market's breaking out, about to make a new all-time high based off the crypto total market cap. This thing's really setting up to fly in a big way. So let's come over here and take a look at the altcoins, because the altcoins look about the same. They've just kind of lagged behind a little bit. Bitcoin's really driving value right now, especially with anticipation of this ETF. We're seeing Bitcoin breaking out first, which is to be expected. My guess is Bitcoin goes upwards of 75K before we start to see altcoins really taking off and leading. But they're just going to kind of lag behind Bitcoin as Bitcoin officially breaks out. And so once again, the chart looks the exact same. The only difference is the total market cap's about to be breaking out just because of Bitcoin doing that. But the altcoin total market cap is still just kind of getting ready to break out of that handle and the top of the cup in the resistance. But nonetheless, guys, this is still going to create a massive, massive move on the upside. You know, I've always said that I personally foresee that the total altcoin market cap could be hitting about 5 trillion. To even upwards of 7 to 10 trillion. You know, it's hard to say. I think the total market cap at 10 trillion is a safe bet. I'd say the altcoin market cap at 5 trillion is a pretty solid bet. And so that's personally what I'm going to be watching out for. Something along the lines of a very, very big move. If you guys thought that from October all the way upwards of May, before we saw this recent crash, was actually a big move, just wait until the end of the year. I'm telling you guys, this is going to be the most profitable point of the cycle. There's a lot of factors that are kind of playing into each other. Once again, the releasal time of this ETF is going to be the major factor that we need to watch for. In my opinion, that's going to really tell us what the market cycle top is going to be. If we launch in December, sometime in December, I think it's a sell the news event where we need to get out of the market. If that happens, I'm for sure getting out of the market. I've made enough money at this point that I'm set. I don't need to worry. I don't need to get too greedy. But I know a lot of people with this ETF approval are just going to automatically assume that the market's going to go up forever. I don't believe that that's the case. I think that a lot of people are going to get over leveraged at the top thinking that. And once again, guys, if we end up seeing this approved in December and released in December, most importantly, at that point, I do believe a lot of people are going to end up buying the top, assuming that it's going to keep going up in that cycle. Once again, guys, you know, generally speaking, with major news events like this, it's buy the rumor, sell the news. We should see the price start really increasing on the rumor of this ETF getting released. You know, the day it actually gets released, usually that's a sell the news type of event. But what I can say is what we saw with Ethereum. Ethereum actually had futures getting added for itself. And the futures actually added for Ethereum, you know, somewhere right around the breakout of that all-time high. I think it was right around this period of time, somewhere between, you know, February of 2021. I don't remember exactly which day it was or which month it was that futures got added for ETH, but ETH ended up making one more final blow-off top inside of that move. And so the same thing can be said for Bitcoin and the crypto total market cap as a whole. You know, are we going to end up seeing that same type of move where it gets released within the next week? and that leads us to the blow off top? Or are we going to see buy the rumor, sell the news, where it gets released later in the year, closer towards the end of the year, and the price ends up going up because of anticipation of that release date? Time will tell. We're going to have to watch and see. I'll keep you guys updated on when we actually do get a time frame for when it releases on the NASDAQ and major exchanges. But this is a great opportunity to make a lot of money closing out the end of the year, guys. This is something we've been waiting for a long time. So I wanted to give you guys this video just as a way to summarize some thoughts, kind of talk to you guys about what I'm thinking, my game plan when it comes to end of the year, game plan when it comes to, factoring in this major advancement, this major news event that's playing out for crypto as a whole, because this is one of those news events that I do pay attention for. I don't pay attention to many, but this is one of those that's very important. So anyways, guys, thank you all so much for watching. If you found value in this, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these amazing videos. If you guys would like to join the Discord server or download my free ebook, links are going to be provided for you in the description for that. If you guys want to join the signals, get into my VIP groups. If you guys really just want to be able to follow what I'm doing with my money, most importantly, how I'm going to be selling out by the end of the year, when this ETF gets released, all of those things, there's a lot of factors that come into play. And if you guys want to know exactly which days I'm selling, which time frames I'm going to be sticking to, how much I'm going to be selling, and then most importantly, where I'm diversifying all of my crypto profits inside of the bear market, links are going to be provided for you in the description to go ahead and join my VIP community. I look forward to seeing you guys in there. We're going to make a ton of profit over the next 3 months, and I just love to have as many people in there being able to fully capitalize on that price expansion that we're about to see. Thank you all so much for watching, and with all that being said, I'll catch you in the next one. As always, peace out.